there. I'm Andrea Welling. I live in North Vancouver, BC, British Columbia, Canada, and I have a couple of kids. And I've lived in that area for over 30 years. And I wanted to let you know that I wanted to acknowledge that I'm on the unceded territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples, on whose land I am honored to work and play. I want to thank the 2025 Women Changing the World Online Summit for inviting me to participate. I help leaders reduce turnover, build team cohesion, and drive sustainable change. My career has spanned entrepreneurship, senior leadership, and adult education. I'm excited to bring transformational leadership to more people. I wanted to tell you a little bit about my journey. And it is my hope that part of my journey is about my mental health. And I think many of you as leaders might be also struggling with your own mental health. And it's my hope that if my story can help you or others, that would be a wonderful dream for me to accomplish. So I think part of what was happening for me was that I felt lost. And it's interesting, this word lost, because when you're actually lost, you're pretty frantic. You tend to move into action mode and you actually try to find ways to be found. But when I felt lost emotionally and sort of spiritually, it was a fogginess that wrapped around me. And I felt nudged toward myself, but I felt really unanchored, like a small boat floating in an unknown sea, even though I was in the same neighborhood I had been for the past 11 years. When I would ride the train, I felt that I was out of my home zone and that no one really knew me or cared about me or noticed me. I would wander at night, seeking a sense of adventure and connection that seemed to elude me. I was in isolation but didn't realize it. I thought it was something that was outside of myself. A few months later, some of these feelings intensified, but it didn't happen all at once. It was slow, quiet, almost invisible. And I didn't really see it until the day I got off a remote call. And I felt this really surge, a strong surge of frustration. It was so strong. And I actually wanted to put my fist through the wall. And this wasn't a joke or a dramatic thought. It was real. And it really upset me. And that made me stop and say something's not okay and that I needed help. So I reached out and I'm glad I did. And I can say with support that I am doing much better now. And I just wanted to speak a little bit about how that came about. You know, remote work has so many gifts: being at home, more time with our families, less commuting, more comfort in our own space. And for a while, it felt like I was also really connected because I was on calls all day. And I imagine some of you can relate to that. But I wasn't really bonded. I wasn't really feeling part of something bigger. I didn't feel seen or held by a community. And that loneliness surprised me, especially because I had colleagues and a team and I had my family in the house. But I just couldn't get that sense of belonging in my body, in my emotions, and in my spirit. Some days I was engaged, other days I felt myself resistant or flat. It crept in quietly. I started wanting sort of extra naps, even though I wasn't tired. I sped up my talking. I pushed my ideas forward too fast. And then I wasn't sleeping well. I found myself catastrophizing the future and feeling overly emotional about the past. I was partially aware that something had shifted, but I couldn't name it. And then I really didn't understand, what was going on. And it took going across the country to a leadership retreat. And before I had more of an aha moment about what was really going on for me. During the team building exercises, we started to bond and create a sense of community, caring, and camaraderie. It was so exciting and fun. When asked how we could stay this connected, suddenly I realized we just need to be more in person. We need to do more activities together. And it was a light bulb moment for me. And it turns out that I'm not alone. According to Gallup's State of the Global Workplace 2024 report, 1 in 5 workers report loneliness. Loneliness is more prevalent among younger employees under age 35. And with men and working women reporting loneliness kind of equally at 20% each. Interesting, job levels have little association with loneliness, and the rates of mental health are rising. According to the World Health Organization, depression and anxiety cause an estimated 12 billion working days lost globally per year, which is like a trillion per year in lost productivity. Women overall are more affected and across the world struggle to find health care to support their mental health. I know I went through a lot of work with finding the right kind of doctor to get a proper assessment. According to Gallup, the primary cause of loneliness was a drop in manager engagement. Since the pandemic, managers have been squeezed between new executive demands and employee expectations. And I knew that before I could help re-engage my team out of isolation, because I saw some of that with them, that I had to reconnect with myself. My process of reconnection was gradual. One key aspect was creating a morning routine. When I woke up, I focused on my own feelings of darkness, fear, anxiety, and loneliness. I would slowly emerge from bed, breathing and meditating and asking what I wanted and what I needed. I held and hugged myself. I wrapped myself in a cozy blanket. I journaled and I asked parts of myself to express what they were experiencing. I discovered that I needed more comfort, more care, acknowledgement, and connection to myself, physically and emotionally. I coached myself out of the harsh voices of doubt, criticism, and judgment and moved toward love. I also found a special breathwork practice, and I combined that with yoga and an outdoor morning walk, listening to podcasts that lifted and inspired me. Over 6 months, I started to regain a sense of happiness again. I started to laugh and giggle, and my intense dreams dwindled to ones that were more adventurous and soothing. I never really understood what it actually meant to love yourself until very recently. It's so important and powerful. Through insight meditations, I began to feel a sense of something larger around me, and I began to realize that I had abandoned my spiritual life many years earlier, and the light I needed to see through the fog began to shine through. I expanded my circle of social and family connection, hosted more dinner parties, initiated more get togethers, and found fun outings to get myself out of the house every day. I pushed myself to text someone in my inner circle. Despite the challenge of living in a quiet neighborhood, I really decided to stop and chat more often, noticing cute dogs, even though I'm scared of dogs, and to compliment my neighbors on their homes or their coats or their earrings. I slowed down at home with my kids. I took my earbuds out, and whenever they entered the room, I asked them more interesting questions about their experiences. I listened more intently. When I was with them, I stayed very present. So, as you can see, for me, the first step in the alignment model is awareness. You can see that at the base of this model. According to Eckhart Tolle, awareness is the power that is concealed within the present moment. With an awareness, we get a disidentification from thoughts and emotions and reactions. Then the mind loses its compulsive quality. Neuroscientist Dr. Richard Davidson from the University of Wisconsin says that the very act of paying attention regulates the brain's emotional circuits. Awareness transforms the way the brain responds to stress, cultivating resilience and well-being. So when we're paying attention through awareness, this allows us to move from our sympathetic nervous system, which allows us to fight and flight and respond quickly, to a parasympathetic nervous system that allows us to rest and digest. And so part of that practice was to really settle myself down, to really notice patterns and to really see what was really going on. When did I feel stress? When did I feel resistant or dissociative? When was I feeling frustrated or aggressive? And as a leader, as you become more aware of your own mental health and well-being, I think it's really important to ask yourself some important observable questions for yourself under awareness. What are the themes and patterns that are emerging in your day-to-day state of mind? What do you notice? Are there sequences? And how does it tend to develop? When does it stop or disappear? And does anything feel out of the blue? Then if some of these things are going on, you might be dealing with isolation. Now, once we have awareness, then we can move towards some action steps, and we can start to figure out how to really move forward with our teams. So once we've got that set of awareness of connection for ourselves, it's start to look at our team as a leader. And these are some signs of isolation, and you might have seen some of them in yourself as well. So one of them is that, if someone's rarely speaking up, if they're really not speaking much or connecting, likely they might be in some form of isolation or loneliness. It's all right to obviously keep our cameras off, but if they're doing it consistently, this may be a sign that they're really become disengaged. Sometimes when people work really odd or isolated hours, that might be something to do with their mental health that you may want to chat with them about. Maybe they're also mentioning stress or loneliness or disconnection. And even if they're doing that lightly, we really need to pay attention to that. So then, as an empathetic leader, what can we do about isolation? And I want to offer you 5 connection catalyst tips to guide you out of isolation and into a deeper bonding with your team. The first one that took a little bit of time was normalizing connection as work. I had to say to people, when you come together with your team in a hybrid model, that we take time out of our calendars to socialize. And that's work too. It's team building, it's socializing. We need it. And that took a bit of getting people to get used to it. My one-to-ones with my team members were a top priority. When staff are remote, we have to make those one-to-ones a really high priority, even more of a priority than if you work with staff in person. And they shouldn't just be a short update. It should be something where you're asking questions, where you're reflecting and acknowledging them, where you're offering some coaching. And then the next piece to be a connection catalyst is to build psychological safety. We want people to feel they can speak their mind, that they can say the things that matter to them, and really, then that way they can really, collaborate and be connected. Um, and then we want to also look for create some team rituals. So something I really liked was being able to create some social engagement. And we would go for lunches or have some outings and team building activities. So those were really important and really special. And the final one that is a connection catalyst tip that I want to mention is to watch the edges. So when we have newer team members who maybe aren't always maybe fitting in with the team as much and are hanging back, we want to make sure that they're included. So something that I was aware of with my team was one of my team members at one lunch, she just was hanging back. And I really just took time to just walk with her and be with her and just to see where her mindset was and how she felt. And it made a huge difference in her feeling connected to myself and to the team. Employee engagement is really about, people feeling enthusiastic about their work. And when people feel like their basic needs are met, they will contribute so much more when they have a sense of belonging. And there's so many more opportunities to learn and grow. And without this base of connection, people can kind of go in and out of isolation, in and out of engagement. And when we work remotely, people can get lost in their own worlds and work can become transactional. So I really want to encourage you as you're improving your leadership work and becoming aware of isolation and mental health to make becoming a connection catalyst something that you really take as something very serious and that you see as part of becoming a better leader. So now to return back to the alignment model, I want to talk a little bit about accountability. And because we don't want to slip back into disengagement and isolation. And we want to make sure that we do some activities that help create accountability. One way is to create detailed notes about your staff. It's really good to know their milestones, their events, maybe a little bit about their families, so that when we're connecting, we're staying close all the time. It's like an ongoing connection, ongoing bonding, ongoing conversation. I also really suggest creating a team collaboration engagement plan. So bring the team together and have them figure out, how can we collaborate more? How can we make sure we move toward engagement? And when this is an honest conversation and people really feel included, this gives an opportunity for everyone to have a voice in that engagement plan. Um, we want to make sure that our team members sort of facilitate some of these meetings so they take more ownership of their projects. And we need to watch the other big thing with creating accountability is watching our communication, that we aren't into any miscommunication, and also around expectations. So clarifying expectations of your staff team members' role, job responsibilities, deadlines, any of these aspects will help to ensure that you reduce conflict. And finally, if you're hearing negativity, please, nip that in the bud, nip that in the bud, because that's part of accountability, is making sure that the team doesn't slip into negative habits. And also with underperforming staff, it's also part of the accountability, part of the alignment model. Um, Underperforming staff can create a real sense of disengagement for others on your team. So please do tackle difficult conversations head on. So sometimes with our teams, it helps to have an outside perspective. And this is where a coach, a leadership coach, which are some of what I'm offering, can be super helpful. A coach can offer a neutral perspective and take you through some of the sticky parts of some of the challenges with your team. We can do role play, we can work on some leadership prompts, and we can talk through challenging situations. And this will help you to stay accountable over time. So the great thing is when this all comes together, and I've had it happen with multiple teams, you achieve the top of the alignment model pyramid into actualization. And it's like magic. Things unfold before you. What once seemed insurmountable now just seems to happen. What once plagued your team is gone, and you have engaged and transformed team members who truly want to do their best. Because overall, that's what people want. People want to be successful. So if your team needs a boost with leadership skills and negativity has somewhat seeped into your team culture, I'd love to discuss how we can work together in your organization to truly affect change and empowerment. It does take time, and it's worth it. And this doesn't have to take forever either. There's so much we can do that can happen quite quickly toward transformation. So just finally, I want to give you a little bit of contact information for me. Would love to be able to connect with you. The other thing that I think is really important for our teams is watching our mental health. And this is through the Mental Health First Aid, can be an excellent program. And what I encourage you to do, if you reach out through hello@andreawelling.ca, I'd love to send you some resources in your area about mental health first aid. This is a program that can teach your team how to have conversations around mental health. Doesn't mean you have to be a counselor, but it helps you really take some of the concerns that some of your team members may have and move towards some positive change and support. So, and I've taken it multiple times, and it's just so valuable. So, really looking forward to hearing from you. Please do reach out. Would love to connect. And again, thank you so much to the summit for having me today and to be able to present my passions for coming out of isolation and empathetic leadership and Connection Catalyst. Thank you so much.